Hello guys, welcome back to part 2 of all things gut health. If you are new here, my name is Millie. I am sharing a lot about my personal gut health journey and what I've been through for honestly a lot of the last, let's honestly say 10 years. I had struggled with my gut health, inflammation, bloating, like water retention, all of these things, and I felt extremely isolated in my experience and was going back and forth to doctors for years and years and years, getting no answers, and just felt really out of my body, really hopeless and really frustrated. Actually kind of got to a point where I thought that was going to be my experience forever. I am really grateful to say that I am definitely on the home run. I have healed so much in the last 8 months. I've been working with a naturopath and I have made so much progress. I've lost 10 kilos since kind of starting my gut healing journey, and a lot of that has been from inflammation alone. And I finally feel like I'm at a place where this is how my body should look and feel. If you have not already, watched part 1 where I talk all about my gut journey and everything that kind of led me to that point, what kind of caused a lot of my gut issues that did get me to that point where I genuinely could not continue living the way I was because of how much it was controlling my life. Please stop biting me, puppy. Do go watch that because you may be able to relate to some things. You may be able to see some warning signs within yourself, and just honestly understand more about the importance of like your gut health in general. But part 2 is going to be answering all of your questions. This is something that people have been asking for such a long time, and to be completely transparent, I really wanted to get further along my own gut healing journey before I started giving advice. I wanted to, I guess, have more experience for myself. And also a lot of the information I'm going to be giving you guys today is based off we've been doing together, the education I've gained from working with her, but also I am a qualified nutritionist. So a lot of this will be from my own knowledge, my own experience. So I hope that you guys find this video helpful. Please go to sleep. Go to sleep. It is a new day, I'm not going to lie to you. My brain was honestly in shambles after the other day, and I just really wanted to make sure I was able to come on here with more of a clear head and probably give you guys some better advice than where I would have been the other day. So we're here to answer all of your questions. I'm honestly really excited to get into this all with you. So guys, sit down, grab a cuppa or a coffee or a matcha, or I don't care what you drink. This is a peppermint tea because we're on that gut health train. But let's dive straight down into all of your questions. I really hope that this video can help you guys. A lot of the confusion out there, a lot of the misleading information out there really help support yourself in this journey. And I really do hope that this can help motivate you to go get that additional help if you need it, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Okay guys, our first question is, I know I have gut health issues. How do I start this journey? If I could go back in time, I would 100% have gotten a naturopath years and years ago. And honestly, the biggest thing that held me back was the financials of it. However, the amount of money I spent going back and forth to doctors, buying these supplements that people said would help with my bloat, also going on all these different supplements for things like estrogen and water retention and all these things because they were all of my symptoms, not the actual root cause. I would have spent thousands. Honestly, thousands and thousands of dollars. And this is even when I was not in a good financial position. So I understand the cost of things like a naturopath and, you know, those more expensive appointments compared to just a GP appointment. It can be super scary because also if you've had the experience of going back and forth to doctors continuously and getting no answers, you can feel like this is just going to be a more expensive experience of the exact same thing. However, guys, I need to really cement the point of a naturopath is they are looking internally rather than externally. And I think the biggest thing with normal GPs, and you might have an incredible GP and that's great for you. I'm so happy for you. I've never experienced that. But a lot of them are more so going off how you look and the really surface level type of stuff, because again, they are basing your experience off the most unhealthy people that they see on a daily basis. Whereas naturopaths really are going off, you know, how you're feeling. They're looking super internally, and they really want to figure out the root cause. And yes, it's a more natural route, but that is, at the end of the day, we don't want to put a band-aid over these symptoms, because when we put a band-aid over the symptoms, the root cause is only going to continue to get worse. It's like people being put on the contraception over anything and everything. It's a band-aid over the symptom, but what you're experiencing, that needs to be established. And why was that happening? Because that damage is going to continue to fester until it is healed. And that's the exact same thing with our gut health issues. So truly, the best place to start would be to seek that help from a qualified naturopath, not just a nutritionist. Not if you have specific gut health issues that are separate from an unhealthy lifestyle. And when I talk about lifestyle factors that can contribute to, poor gut health, is going to be things like drinking regularly, eating a lot of processed foods, not getting in a lot of movement, not having good sleep patterns. Those things are going to affect the state of your gut health. But if you are exercising regularly, you're eating well, you're drinking lots of water, those types of things that is considered healthy for the general population, you should not be experiencing chronic bloat, chronic digestive issues, chronic brain fog, anything like that. So if you want to hear more about, again, I really wanted to separate the two videos here with just answering specific questions compared to my journey as a whole. Please do watch my journey, because I'm sure you'll be able to relate. From what I've seen with a lot of the comments already, a lot of people are relating, and it's, really helping them feel less alone, which is exactly why I did that video to begin with, is to hopefully help people feel less alone, because I know how alone I felt in that, and constantly feeling like you're hitting a brick wall with doctors. I felt so seen when I saw my naturopath, and even if we didn't get the answers straight away, we do not stop until we figure out the answers. And I think that is what we need. We need someone that is going to continue to hold our hand throughout the journey and make sure that they're not just giving up on us the way that I think a lot of the doctors do tend to give up on us. So that would honestly be my biggest piece of advice to get started, because in the grand scheme of things, you're going to save more money at the end of the day, because you're going to get answers a lot quicker, and you're going to get that support a lot quicker than going to, your GP or whatever. Because otherwise, you're going to keep guessing, and you're going to keep buying these supplements. You're going to keep spending money on other things that may not truly be what you need. So get a naturopath, and if you can, go get the gut microbiome test, which is a test that's going to literally figure out exactly what's going on in your gut, and then you'll be able to really start that journey. Again, this is a bit more of an expensive route, guys, but your quality of life, your health, your happiness is not an expense. It's an investment. Because why do we want to live in this world sluggish shell of ourselves? We should be in this world to be the most vibrant, healthiest, happiest, most energized version of ourselves. So even if it's going to cost you your savings, guys, to give you back your life, so well and above worth it. So yeah, that is honestly that's how you should get started if you know you have gut health issues. Symptoms of an unhealthy gut. There is so many. I think at the end of the day, anything digestive related, so if you're not going to the toilet consistently, if your stools are very inconsistent, you can actually look up what a healthy stool should look like. So if your stool is not in the healthy category, then there is something going on in your gut microbiome. Also things like brain fog, honestly, mental health issues in general can link to, a lot of the time actually is linked to the gut. Fatigue, lethargic, of course bloat, inflammation, water retention, huge fluctuations as well. Honestly, the list could go on. I think at the end of the day, again, why I feel very grateful that I live a very healthy lifestyle and I experienced what it was like to feel healthy, is because it's very easy, if you don't feel good, to think that that's just the way you feel and that's how everyone feels. So I think if you're experiencing any of those things, anything that is impacting your quality of life can be a sign of being unhealthy in some area. And that's not to say that you might not be ticking the boxes, because I was ticking every single box and I was feeling so unhealthy. Another one, being sick all the time. We should have a good immune system. That's what our gut health is for, is to help us recover from sicknesses and keep us functioning, healthy, alive, all those types of things. So I think all of those can be symptoms of an unhealthy gut. The list is honestly endless, and I think with the quality of our produce nowadays, everything from like even our water quality, the air quality, all these things, I'm not trying to be woo-woo whatsoever, but I think it's really important to recognize that our environments now aren't really supporting like the most healthy type of lifestyle. Processed foods is everywhere, artificial sweeteners, all of these things are disturbing our gut, and of course it's becoming our norm. That doesn't mean it's normal, and it doesn't mean that our body is considering that as normal. It's normal to us from an environmental standpoint, but it's not the best environment for our gut. So a lot of the time now, we do have to put in a much more conscious effort to be really healthy because our environment is kind of steering us in the opposite direction. I hope that made sense there. What test did I get done to know I had poor gut health? So I did a gut microbiome test, and when you start working with a naturopath, that's something that you can ask for pretty much straight away. It's not something that you can kind of get done unless you have a naturopath. They have to order that in for you, and pretty much you get a stool test and you do 3 days in a row. You get like it is quite disgusting, guys, I'm not gonna lie. By the 3rd day I was so ready to be like, I'm not doing this anymore, but I'm really glad I did. Yeah, you get a sample of your stool. I think you also get urine 3 days in a row, and then you send that off, and then they're able to extract all of that and really figure out exactly what's going in your gut, if you've got parasites, worms, literally everything they're able to get from it. Well, majority of the things they're able to get from that. So it is so freaking useful. It was, I think, about 400 or 500 Australian dollars to get that test done. But again, the amount of money I would have spent on things outside of that, I'm so grateful that I spent that money. And honestly, I think I'm going to get it done again now with like being further along my journey and just seeing where the state of my gut health is now, so I can know whether or not what we're currently doing is still the best route of action, or if we do need to, you know, start the next phase or something like that. So I think I'm going to get another one now. I do definitely understand it is a luxury to be able to afford this. I 100% acknowledge that. That's what kept me from getting this support for so long. However, guys, I ended up spending more money when I was guessing and just going off the symptoms, and also the amount of life it took away from me as well in that time. It's worth it. My specific issues. So my personal symptoms was, for years and years and years, I experienced a lot of like water retention, fluid retention, and huge fluctuations. That was like my first symptoms, and this was still when I had like really good digestion. Everything else was like really normal. I had a really healthy lifestyle, but I always felt, I was always told I was just really high in estrogen. So when I would get coaches, when I would go speak to, you know, specialists and all these types of things, they'd be like, oh yeah, you're just really estrogen dominant. And I also do have endo, so I thought that was just all kind of part of it. And I think as well, just being a woman, we kind of accept that, you know, we just have a lot of fluid retention and stuff. So it was kind of like, again, it might be normal, but it's not normal. So I was experiencing that for so many years, guys. Even when I started this would have been, honestly, I think it could be 10 years I was experiencing that. So I always thought it was just high estrogen. I took so many different types of supplements to try and help with my estrogen, and it would just never, ever work. That was my first kind of symptoms. And then I would really struggle to lose weight, even when eating super low calories, being super active. I would kind of get really swollen and fluffy, like on top of just, you know, holding a lot of water retention stuff. I looked really inflamed and really puffy. Like my face was super puffy. I would hold like a lot of it looked like excess body fat, but it was also like I knew it wasn't body fat, because I would have lean days where I would feel great and I had so much muscle as well. It wasn't adding up. So I had a lot of muscle, and I would have lean days where, you know, I felt fantastic, and then the next day I would be, you know, 4 kilos heavier, for example. So I knew that it was these humongous fluctuations in my body weight, and it wasn't just body fat, and I just needed to lose body fat. But even just like, yeah, really struggling to lose weight. Even again, when I was ticking all the boxes, and yeah, I felt like I was living on low calories. If I'd increase from that, I would put on weight really easily. So it's like I put on weight really easily, but really struggled to lose weight. And that was kind of my experience for a long time. And then when I got barley belly, this was probably about, I'd say 3 years ago now. I got it 3 times in 2 weeks. And then when I came back from that trip, so I'd experienced all that other stuff all throughout, but when I got back from that trip, genuinely, when I say my gut health was never ever the same, like my headspace was not the same, my digestion was not the same, my bloat was just out of control. There was just the fluctuations. It was like there was not really any more fluctuations. It was like I was just constantly in the worst state. So in that chronic bloat, super inflamed, super uncomfortable, and just in a lot of pain all the time. And that was kind of my symptoms. Again, I go through so much more in my part 1, but that's like an overview of my symptoms. So I was having symptoms for a really long time, and then it got to a point where it was just unbearable. Like my quality of life was just stripped away from me pretty much. I no longer wanted to leave my house, and I was really struggling. How to find what works for you. So this is something that I need to make so crystal clear to you guys. Every single person is going to be so different, and that has been a huge thing. Even I've known this obviously throughout my entire journey, because my experience of weight loss was very different to a lot of other people's experience, and I've been a coach for well over 10 years now, so I understand how differently people are going to respond to different workout programs, different nutrition plans, different intensities, all this stuff. It's already something that I was very aware of as a coach. When it comes to gut health, every single person's experience is going to be so different, because everyone's gut microbiome is so different. Everyone's dieting history is so different. Everyone's symptoms, although we could present the same, what's going on internally could be so different. So that's why it's so important. Like, you guys can listen to all of my advice and all of the advice from everyone else, but although I really hope some of the information I give you guys is going to be helpful, and I truly trust it will be, to find exactly what you personally need for exactly what you're going through, I really recommend to get that one-on-one support, just like with anything. Otherwise, it is still an element of guessing. So if you really want to get down to the bottom of it, it is so important to work with a naturopath one-on-one, or at bare minimum, if you can't afford to continue seeing them, get a gut microbiome test. Try and just have that initial starting phase with them, and hopefully getting some answers to at least get the ball rolling in the right direction, and maybe touch base with them every 6 months or something like that, where you can continue to see how you're progressing. But you're just going to waste away years of your life and potentially get worse and worse the more you guess, the more you wait, until you do get that personalized approach. Something else I want to touch on, guys, is social media. You do have to be of course I'm sitting here and I'm on social media and I'm giving you guys this advice, and this is purely coming from a place I have been through exactly what you guys are going through. I understand how little real good quality information was out there, people actually talking about their experience, over people just using clickbaity terms to get the clicks, get the views, get the attention, get the money, whatever, talking about bloat, talking about inflammation, giving you no real substance, no real context, just kind of getting the views and benefiting themselves. Obviously I'm not getting a single thing out of this video. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm genuinely just trying to give you guys advice here. I just think it's so important to be super careful. The people that you're getting advice of, are they trying to sell you, a gut health supplement? Are they trying to sell you a greens powder or something like that, where they're benefiting off the very little information they're giving you? They're just saying, well, this was me before and this is me after. I promise you that a debloat drink I promise you it's not going to work. I swear on my life. If you've experienced bloat, if you've really experienced the brunt of these type of gut health issues, you know that there is no magic drink, magic pill, magic anything that is oh my God, if it was just as simple as a drink, my God, I would not have been experiencing this for 10 years. So yeah, it's just so important to be so careful the information that you're taking in, because a lot of people are profiting off our insecurities, and because we feel so isolated, overwhelmed, and so desperate. You're desperate for answers, you're desperate for solutions, you're desperate to get your life back, you're desperate for energy, you're desperate for a flat stomach. A lot of people do unfortunately make money off of that, and I just want you guys to be so careful with a lot of the content that is out there. So I think that's why it's really important to make sure that you do just work with an actual professional and figure out what's going on for you. Not just try to put a band-aid over the symptoms, because that's what I kind of did for many years, and then you're always going to get to a point where you need to do something about it, so you might as well do something about it now. Okay, let's get into bloat specific questions, because this is such a hot topic. I think bloat gets thrown around so much, and I get it, because I think it's been something that has been so incredibly normalized, but bloat is not normal. Okay, there is bloat from overeating, and that's something in of itself. We've all experienced that. Every single person in the world, I think, experiences some bloat when you overeat. It's Christmas Day, you eat 10 servings of food, or you eat a ton of ice cream, or whatever it is. I think it's pretty normal that we experience a bit of bloat there. Bloat, when it comes to gut health issues, an example of what I'll put here, does not come from overeating at all. All of my bloat never came from eating too much food. I could eat a singular grape, and it was the upper part of my stomach, around my ribs, my upper digestive tract. That's where I would inflame. So it's not even bottom stomach bloat. Mine was all up around this upper part of my stomach. It was really hard to breathe. It was rock hard, but also super fluidy, and it wouldn't go down. So it wouldn't be just let it settle for a few hours and it'll go down. This would last days, weeks, months. I couldn't wear clothing because it was so uncomfortable. I was in so much pain. When I was trying to get answers off, you know, my social media and just seeing if anyone else had, and that's why I felt so obliged to talk about it and make a YouTube video, was because I just remember, even with my platform where I do have access to so many more people than, you know, the average person, trying to get answers from them, so many people would be like, oh, just don't eat gluten or dairy. And I'm like, bro, if it was as simple as not eating gluten or dairy, I think I would just not eat gluten or dairy. Like, it's not that simple. Because I never really ate a lot of gluten or dairy or, you know, foods like that. But when I would eat those types of things, it's not like those were inflaming me. Yeah, it's not like, you know, some people will eat, gluten or dairy and they'll get a bit of bloat and they'll feel a little bit uncomfortable. It's obviously like, it's very extreme and it's very uncomfortable, very painful, and it lasts in a very extended period of time. So yeah, that's what I want to make so clear. Is it normal to get bloated every day? If we're talking about, no, actually full stop, it's not normal to get bloated every single day. We shouldn't be getting bloated. Again, there's a difference of overeating, which we shouldn't be doing that every single day for the sake of our gut health, because it's putting a lot of strain on our gut health, our digestive system, which can cause a lot of issues. So no, it is 100% not. And if it's lasting extended periods of time, absolutely not. That is not normal. Best debloating tips. So now that I've gone into specifically recommend enough working with the naturopath, I'll obviously try and give you guys some advice and things that have really, really helped me. So my best debloating tips. So the first thing I would look at is your lifestyle in general. So are you eating foods that you know you have a negative reaction to? For example, a lot of people are gluten and dairy intolerant, for example, but yet they eat that on a daily basis and they're constantly getting bloated from those foods, but they're just like, they just want to eat it, so they just keep eating it. That is not good, guys, because if your body is telling you that it's not having a good response from these foods, you can be causing more and more issues, and that's when things can lead to like celiac disease and things like that as well. So you have to be really careful. If your body is constantly trying to communicate with you when it comes to whether it likes something, whether it doesn't like something. So if you're experiencing bloat after eating certain foods, that's a good indicator that something else is going on. My advice would be, of course, get that additional help so you can figure out what's going on. Don't continue to eat these foods that are causing flare-ups. That's number one. Obviously, nutritionally, are you eating foods that you have a negative response to? Are you eating a lot of processed foods? I am such a humongous firm believer in 80-20. I 100% believe we should be having 80% whole foods, good quality foods, things like your proteins, your vegetables, your fruits, your healthy fats, and then 20% soul foods, because I've also experienced, again, I talk about this in my first video. I don't want to ramble too much and repeat myself too much. But I also know some of you guys are going to be watching this and wouldn't have watched the first one, so please watch the first one, literally for your own sake. My first transformation happened was when I actually started to introduce foods that I'd cut out for a really long period of time, because you will start to create intolerances when you cut out food groups. So for example, when people cut out carbs, for example, when you first introduce that back into your diet, you're going to be holding a little bit more water because your body has gotten so used to not having that source of energy that it becomes really efficient on other sources of energy. That's not to say that you can't eat carbs. You just need to have a bit of a reset with your metabolism and what your body is used to, so that your body can start to be more efficient on that type of energy, for example. So same thing when we cut out, food groups, you can cause intolerances because your gut microbiome hasn't had to have the resources to help break that food down. And that's why you can start to have a lot of stomach discomfort and stuff when you start to eat those foods again. And that's when a lot of people are like, I'm intolerant to gluten and dairy and stuff. That's why I always say, if you don't have really negative responses, have little bits of everything to have a healthy gut microbiome, because it's going to be more efficient at breaking those down, and you're not going to have such humongous flare-ups anytime you eat those foods, because your body's like, what the hell is this? How do we break this down? So yeah, I'm a huge advocate of 80-20. What was even the question again? Debloating tips. However, I think it's also incredibly important to actually look at your lifestyle as a whole and think, is this healthy? So are you eating fruits, vegetables, healthy protein, healthy fats, like whole protein sources, not just artificial crap, and not just another humongous thing which I think caused a lot of my stomach issues, my gut health issues, was how many lower calorie alternatives. Actually, you know what, this is a whole topic in and of itself, because I truly believe this caused so many of my gut health issues, was eating low calorie alternatives. Not only was I living in a state of low calories and a deficit for my entire younger years, But because I was tracking macros, I was always opting for the artificial, sugar-free, low-calorie, zero-calorie things that are, like, if something has no calories in it, guys, think about what they have added into that to make that have all the flavor that it does. It is just artificial bullcrap that our body can't digest. So swapping to lower calorie things like lower calorie wraps, lower calorie everything is just all this artificial stuff we're putting into our body that is really, really, really hard for our gut to break down. So I would look at your diet and see how much processed foods you are actually eating, even if they're considered healthy. The calories of something does not equal healthy. The quality of the food equals healthy. So start looking at your food as health over calories. That was the biggest thing that really, really, really did help my gut start to thrive again as well. I cut out all my lower calorie options and just ate whole, real foods. So yeah, looking at your diet and kind of looking at it from a whole of, like, are you eating a lot of processed foods, not only if they're unhealthy, but even the healthy options as well. Drinking enough water. Water is like our body's lubricant to process everything from our digestive system. It's also going to help our blood flow properly, everything. Water is so important. People really, really, really underestimate the importance of water. So water, nutrition, obviously daily exercise. That's not even from a calorie burning perspective. That is genuinely from a health perspective, to help our body get moving, our circulation, our blood flow, helping our brain think clearly. Movement is crucial for our mental well-being, our physical well-being, everything. So any type of movement, I don't give a shit what it is. Ideally, I want you guys to do some weight training. However, it could be a walk, it could be Pilates, it could be sport. Get in movement every single day. Obviously, if you're drinking often, you're drinking a lot of like artificial sugar-free soft drinks, those can also have an impact on your gut health. Sleep as well can really have an effect on bloat, because we want to think of sleep as like our body's reset. That's actually the only time our body is able to kind of like restore and repair is through our sleep. So if you want to get the most out of your training and your results, like building muscle, losing body fat, sleep is super important. So also, if we don't get enough sleep, that's when we can hold on to more water retention and can feel more fluffy, and also when you can have more digestive issues as well. And also, I think a lot of people think that water is going to make them bloated. You can actually have the opposite effect. If you don't drink enough water, your body will hold on to more water. So water is actually really going to help your body flush itself out, flush out all the excess toxins, and help everything kind of, circulate better. So my tip actually is to drink a lot more water if you're experiencing digestive issues, because it's going to help everything move through a bit more efficiently. And if I even know on days I don't drink enough water, the next day I'm holding on to more water, I'm more bloated. So water intake is super important as well. Yes, you may have an initial phase where you're holding on to more water in the body because your body's kind of like filling itself up and like not knowing if it's going to continue to get this water, so like, should I hold on to it, that sort of thing. But after a few days, a week or two, you'll literally experience the complete opposite. Stress is going to affect bloating as well. That's been one of actually the biggest things on my personal gut health journey, is managing my stress levels, because stress will directly link to inflammation. So stress is inflammation on the body. Now, to help reduce stress, it's going to be some of the really, really boring things that are actually going to help calm you down. Going out for a walk, journaling, meditating, saunas, yoga, slower paced things that are going to help calm you down. Even little hobbies that really make you feel less stressed. So like even painting, knitting, whatever hobbies you guys have that really help you kind of get out of your mind and being really chaotic and like calming you down. These are the things that get really overlooked. A lot of people are like, what's the supplement that's going to help with bloating? What's the exercise that's going to help with bloating? What's the food that's going to help with bloating? It's actually 95% lifestyle that's going to help with your bloating. And a lot of people experience bloat because of stress. I was one of those people as well. Even if you think you have your stress under control, our environment that we're constantly in is such a stressful state. So we have to work extra hard to calm ourselves down and have slower self-care practices in every single day, because our environment, our phones cause stress. Social media is such a humongous stressor on our mental health, our physical health. It affects our sleep. It's all linked, guys. If we actually think of gut health in general, it's all linked to everything. So it's a lot of the time the boring stuff that is actually making the biggest difference. So like I said, having self-care practices that really slow you down, Some other things that were really important for me from a stress perspective was making sure I was consistent with my yoga 3 times per week. And I know that makes an immense difference for me. So if it can't be yoga, do something like stretching, but something that really allows you to connect to your body, slow yourself down, slow down your central nervous system, really calm your mind, your body, your muscles. I think yoga it's been one of the key things to help me. I'm not even gonna lie, because the last 2 months I have not been consistent with it, and my gut is starting to flare up again. So I talked about this in my last video, I have had a big flare over the last week, my worst one in my whole healing last 8 months. And it is because I actually have really stripped back from the simple lifestyle things, which was managing my stress from, slower movement and really taking intentional time for myself, winding down, because I have just been really, really go and just like responding to everything instead of slowing down and just like being a lot more present. So I think that's super important. And then also for me personally, because I had so much inflammation and bloat, saunas, like hot therapy, I found really, really helpful, because my body was really struggling to flush out inflammation and flush out extra like fluid I was holding on to. I found that the saunas were really helpful because it would like support my body in doing that. So yeah, yoga and saunas were 2 external things that really helped me, on top of just managing other lifestyle factors from the nutrition perspective, especially when it came to low calorie alternatives, really just swapping to whole foods, real foods, daily movement, of course, and then your water intake, sleep, and then just those other things when it comes to stress within the body. Also guys, just in terms of like other things that can help, is like teas can really help with bloating. I just realized because I was drinking this, peppermint tea can be really helpful as well. If I have a big flare, I love drinking a peppermint tea. It just really helps soothe my stomach as well. And also guys, you'll notice that almost everything I'm saying is, if not free, extremely inexpensive. So yeah, you don't need to go spend hundreds of dollars on a supplement or things like that are going to make a substantial difference to your quality of life, your bloating, your gut health in general. What changes have you made in your diet that's made the biggest difference to bloating? So like I mentioned just then, which was when it came to the low calorie alternatives, I always opted for, because I was always making like healthier alternatives to food, lower calorie, I wouldn't say healthier, lower calorie, healthier alternatives to foods. And I was always using like low carb wraps, low carb, I was always doing like the English muffin, like so many processed things that were just like much lower in calories for the sake of meeting certain calories or macros that I had to constantly keep me in a deficit sort of thing. However, it was just constantly causing so much stress on my body to process these and digest them, and things like my sugar-free drinks, the sugar-free sauces, artificial sweeteners, all those types of things are going to have an impact on your gut health, especially if it's in a really poor state. So a normal person, a normal body will be able to break it down and kind of have a better balance. However, if obviously for years and years and years on end, it can be causing a lot of disruption and can obviously start to put a bigger strain on your gut, that it becomes harder and harder to do that. And then actually another thing was from a nutrition perspective. So it was cutting out those things, really just eating whole foods. And like I said, I'm a huge advocate for 80-20 and having a good balance of all foods for the sake of even just your gut microbiome in general. However, my body was in a state where towards the end I was flaring up from anything and absolutely everything. So I had to strip it all the way back to pretty much just clean food. And then also I really did make sure that I was getting a diverse range of micronutrients. So previously, I'm such a creature of habit. I can eat the same food every single day for months, if not years. Like, I love my foods and I'll eat them on repeat until I physically cannot even think about that food anymore, which is very rare. I can eat the same thing over and over and over again. So that also means that I was eating fruits and vegetables every day. However, it was the same fruits and vegetables every single day. So my body wasn't actually getting a range of micronutrients. So it was still deficient in certain micronutrients. And another big thing is, from years and years of dieting, I was very low in fats, because it is like a high calories and macronutrients, yet fats are crucial for our health and our well-being, our gut health, our brain health, our hormones, everything. So my fats were really low, to the point where when I got my gut microbiome test, my fat absorption was actually 0. So my body wasn't even absorbing any nutrients by that point. So That was incredibly important for me to not only have big diversity when it came to fruits and veg. So you want to think, that's why it's really important to eat things seasonally. So eating different variety of vegetables and getting the colors of the rainbow, eating a different variety of fruits because they all hold different nutrients in them, and being able to spread that out across the week, across the month, so your body is constantly getting a variety of different micronutrients, different colors, and the different nutrients that each of those hold. And then again, healthy fats. That's things like your nuts, your seeds, your extra virgin olive oil, organic animal fat, avocado, like good quality salmon. Those types of things that are really high in omega-3 is so important for our gut health. So I was really making sure I increased that significantly, and then focused on a much more diverse whole food type of diet. How do I handle going out to eat and the guilt / or upset stomach? So I know when my gut issues were so bad, it wasn't even worth me going out to eat food because of how bad my flare-ups were. For me, like, the flare-ups weren't worth the toll it would take on me for a week or weeks after. So number one, you could obviously eat food that isn't going to upset your stomach as much. And genuinely, I think that would be the best way to go about it, because now with my gut health stuff, I really recognize that it's not worth a flare up for me now, because I know how much stress that's putting on my body and how hard my body has to work to kind of fight through that. And I'm just in such a mindset where I want to create the healthiest and easiest environment for my stomach to really help me get through this stage of my life that I'm in, because it is trying so freaking hard. Like, our bodies don't want to feel like this. It doesn't want to be working this hard. So if we can try and help support that as much as possible with the foods we're eating, with the lifestyle we're creating, with all the self-care practices, then that is going to be the best way to go. When it comes to, I guess, the guilt, I think that's like a completely different topic, because my approach to my nutrition and my lifestyle now isn't coming from a negative place. It's not coming from a place where I can't eat foods because it's going to make me put on weight because it's high in calories. It's not coming from that place. The life I'm living now would be more restrictive in general. However, I don't necessarily see it as restrictive because I don't want to. It's not that I can't, it's that I do not want to go eat foods that are going to cause a flare up, because it causes me way more pain than any type of satisfaction. What was the result of your gut flare-ups? Like I kind of mentioned, it was truly a combination of so many different things. What got me to my boiling point was the inflammation in my body was so high to the point it had nowhere to go. So instead of just getting like inflamed from like small, normal kind of things, I started to get flare-ups from everything, from my training, from my lifestyle, from every single food. Like, my body was just reacting to everything. And honestly, I feel like it was just like a cry for help from my body. Like, I am so grateful that I had all my symptoms. I wish I acted on it sooner and actually really listened to the fact that something wasn't right sooner, because obviously my body was trying to give me information for so many years. However, it just got to a point where it was like, you need to do something about it right now. Like, I truly believe our body is trying to communicate with us at all times. How to know it's your gut and you're not gaining fat in that area? I think this is incredibly good question, because I knew mine wasn't body fat. Like, yes, I was holding on to a bit more body fat because I was really struggling to lose weight. However, I would have lean days where I would have ab definition, and then, like I said, I would have humongous fluctuations overnight. And I know it is literally impossible for your body to put on even a kilo overnight. You have to eat in a surplus for an extended amount of weeks to be able to actually put on like significant amounts of body fat. So I knew it was literally impossible to be able to put on that much body fat overnight. And obviously I'd have days where I was much leaner, I felt great, and I was like, okay, this is underneath. And I also could feel the extra fluid that was around my body. So I could tell, and I feel like you can tell. So yeah, I think that would be the biggest thing. Okay, now we're gonna go into gut health specific. Foods to avoid / incorporate more of. Again, kind of touched on it. So foods to avoid, I don't necessarily think you need to cut out food groups unless your body is trying to communicate with you that it is not liking that. So if you're having flare-ups from foods, I would say temporarily, yes, we need to cut them out. I never believe that we should be cutting things out permanently. And even my naturopath has said that to me, is our goal is not to cut these foods out forever. We want to be able to incorporate that in once your gut has the support system to be able to digest this properly. But right now it's causing more more and more inflammation. So foods to avoid, I think, to start with, foods that are causing any type of flare-ups that make you feel uncomfortable, and you know when that is. Foods to incorporate more of, I think a big diversity of, like, eat the colors of the rainbow every single week. So you can cook up a big batch of vegetables and then add little bits of each into, you know, a meal at least once a day, if not 2 times a day. And then also having a good variety of protein sources, and trying to opt for more whole foods rather than processed, rather than health foods in a packet, and then also incorporating healthy fat. So I want you guys to think through every meal, and this is my approach to my nutrition, is you want a whole food, whether that is fruit or vegetables, a protein source, and you want healthy fats in every single meal. So I truly believe, especially in this journey, preparation is absolutely key, because I want to have that diversity when it comes to my vegetables. So cooking that up, a big batch of different vegetables at the, you know, on a weekend or throughout the week, whatever, is super helpful. And then cooking up different batches of meat so that I can have a diverse range is amazing. And then adding extra virgin olive oil, adding, you know, some nuts into your yogurt bowls, and then adding avocado into meals is just such an easy way to add in those healthy fats as well. Did I avoid dairy, gluten, and alcohol? I did avoid alcohol, because again, that's just literally a toxin in the body. It was absolutely not worth all the work I was doing on my gut. I was not going to ruin that with alcohol. Gluten and dairy I didn't eat a lot of in general. I really didn't. So that wasn't hard for me to limit. However, I did not completely cut it out either. I was having sourdough every day, because that is like that is like something that is technically processed, but it does have a lot of whole grains. So that was actually something my naturopath said, is like have a slice of sourdough, avocado, eggs, and, you know, stuff like that for breakfast. So I was actually having sourdough, which has gluten in it, I think. And then dairy, I have yogurt every day. So no, I didn't avoid it. I listened to my body and how it would respond to that, and it felt great off that. So I think it's so important to listen to how your body responds. Don't just cut out foods for the sake of it, because again, that's actually when you can cause intolerances. So no, I didn't cut it out. However, it was definitely minimal, but I think we should realistically have minimal doses of those anyway. You guys decided he would like to just spread himself right in front of the camera there, so let's just let him be. Okay. Biggest mistake people make that harm the gut. I think truly the whole eating lower calorie health foods just because they're lower in calories does not mean it's healthy, and a lot of the time can actually be worse for your gut microbiome as a whole. How do you promote proper digestion? Supplements or diet? Lifestyle in general is going to significantly help your digestion and your gut health in general. Supplements, so the way I want you guys to think of it, supplements are a supplement to your diet / lifestyle. They are never, ever, ever going to do the work for you. Full stop. And I've said this forever. Even like a protein powder, that should never take over eating real protein. All supplements are to supplement with other lifestyle factors. So you can't just take a supplement and then not do anything to your lifestyle, and then that's just going to fix it all. They can aid and they can support each other, but you can't have one without the other. Does exercise affect gut health even if diet is on point? So everyone's going to be different. The extent of your gut issues is going to kind of determine what that answer is. So for a normal healthy person, exercise is incredibly good. One of the best things you can do for health as a whole. So we should every single person, be getting movement in every single day. Like I said at the beginning of the video, whether that's a walk, Pilates, yoga, a run, anything is going to be incredibly good for your overall health and well-being and vitality and longevity. The state that my body was in, the stressful state my body was in, my training style was just adding more and more stress onto my body. That it wasn't, it was just creating a really inflamed environment, a really stressful environment. So it was a combination of a lot of things, but my training was definitely adding to it. One thing I know for certain is my body does not respond well to high intensity training. And I knew that even 7 years ago when I was doing my high intensity stuff, my CrossFit, all that sort of stuff, my body would just continue to inflame and puff out and just respond really negatively. It was like the harder I worked, the worse I looked, and I never understood that, because I was like, how does that make sense? That doesn't make sense. And back then we definitely didn't have the awareness we have now as to, you know, low impact, low intensity training and how much better people's results are from that, because some people just are not going to respond well to high intensity, super stressful types of training. So some people respond incredibly well. That's why there's no one size fits all. Some people are absolutely fine. They thrive off that. Others absolutely don't. And I unfortunately one of those people, even though I love high intensity training. I loved CrossFit. I love that super hard, intense type of workouts, but my body does not. So yes, training can absolutely have an effect, and it is going to be very personalized to you. But yeah, if you feel like you don't look good and you train a lot, that's probably an indicator that it's too much stress on your body. So you may need to drop down training sessions, do less cardio or whatever you do, and yeah, really strip back the intensity in general. Do green powders help much? From a bloating gut health perspective, no, not really. Again, I think supplements can aid, so I'm not going to say that greens don't help at all. They are never going to fix the problem ever, though. You can't have all these intense gut issues, take a greens powder, and it's all gone. That's never going to work, and I will never ever say that, and I've never said that. Again, supplements, they will support, but they'll never take away like the actual internal work that you need to do. So greens. And honestly, I have some greens and I'm going to start taking them now. Greens, I would look at more as adding more into a already good, well-balanced diet. So it could be a good way to be add more diversity, more micronutrients, because some people can't afford to be able to buy a ton of fruit and veg. So if you have a good base and then this is just going to add more to that base, then that can be a good option. However, the quality of the greens is going to be really important, because a lot of people can say they've got broccoli, kale, spirulina, all of this stuff, yet it's really poor quality, so it's actually not going to be digested by the body very well. So the quality is super important. Also, some greens can have like pre and probiotics in there, which is like good for the gut as well. So it can add to a good diet, but it's never going to solve a poor diet, if that makes sense. And also, it's never going to get rid of bloating as well, speaking from experience. How long did it take me to get my gut back to normal? So my gut isn't normal yet. It was in a really good place for a really long time, and like I kind of mentioned, I did have a recent flare up. But in saying that as well, I need to be more consistent with all of my slower paced type of movement, because I have not been doing that at all. However, when I was doing everything that I mentioned previously, like really looking at my lifestyle, my nutrition, my training, stripping all of that stuff back, my symptoms honestly went away pretty freaking quickly. Like within a month, I was feeling so much better. 2-3 months, I was feeling 100 times better. So truthfully, my symptoms went away really quickly, and I also went into that already knowing like this isn't going to be a quick fix. This is not going to go away in the blink of an eye. I'm ready to put in the work to feel good. And I think where it can get tricky though, guys, learn from my mistake, is when you start to feel good, letting go of the things that made you feel good. So for me, all the things that made me feel good, which was, monitoring my stress, my lifestyle, doing my yoga, doing my saunas consistently, really having a diverse range with my nutrition, I started slipping back into what was easier and just like, just doing the same old I did prior to, and my flares started to happen again. So you've got to be consistent with that. Yes, it's a lot of intentional work, but don't mistake when those symptoms go away for you being better. You need to be consistent with that, because your body is still healing. How to improve gut health after a prolonged period of restriction. So the first things first is you guys need to get yourself out of a deficit. And that was one of the first things that my naturopath said to me, was she said, you're adding more stress. So being in a deficit is a stressor on the body. Your body is not actually getting in. The whole point of a deficit is you're depriving your body of the calories it needs to maintain. So therefore, putting your body into an energy deficit. So that's why it's so important, guys. We should not be living off low calories. We should not be living in a deficit. It is not healthy to be living in a deficit. If you have a lot of weight to lose, yes, it is obviously healthy for you to lose that weight, because that excess weight can cause a whole heap of other issues. However, just when you're in a healthy weight range, to constantly just be dieting is not healthy on the body, and it causes a lot of stress on the body. So first and foremost, bring yourself to a bare minimum maintenance, giving your body enough nutrients to just maintain and to function the way it should be. Or what I did is I completely stopped thinking about calories and macros and anything, and I just focused on nourishing my body, eating whole foods, giving my body the nutrients it needed. So getting out of that, focusing on nourishing your body over restriction and calories, and like, oh, I can't eat this is too many calories. Think like what I said, we want protein, we want micronutrients, so like whole foods, and then we want healthy fats, and try and base all your meals off that. If you know that you tend to just lean more down towards the lower calorie route, be really intentional in eating higher calorie options. Best times to eat. This is another thing that is actually really important for gut health, is we want to still have some breaks in between eating. So when we're constantly snacking and like going past the cupboard every hour and eating something, that can be really harsh on our digestive system. So it's really important to like have a solid break, allowing your body to digest the food and kind of also build up an appetite for the next meal as well. So what I've been recommended is every 3 to 4 hours having a good quality meal. So like I mentioned, you should always have a meal like within the first hour of waking up if you can, because your body has been fasting all night and it needs nutrients, and you should always make sure your first meal of the day is really high quality. So really trying to make sure whole foods, real foods, and then every 3 to 4 hours after that, ideally. And honestly, try to limit snacking, not from a point of calories and weight loss or anything like that, but just allowing your body to have a bit of a break, to be able to break things down. Otherwise, foods can also kind of, like, your digestion can just get really blocked up, and that's when you can have a lot of digestive issues as well. All right, let's move into supplements. What supplements do I take / recommend? Now, just generalized supplements I personally take that have nothing to do with gut health is I take protein powder every day, I take creatine every day, and I take my specific supplements from my naturopath every day. If we're thinking just more generalized, and this is not going to be based off like, you know, specific problems that you may have, this is just for the general population. I think if you're struggling to get protein in your day, protein powder can be really helpful. Creatine is really good for you whether you train or you don't train, so those two things. Thirdly, I think a good probiotic can be really, really helpful for most people, again, just because of the environment we're in and giving our body that extra support to help with our good gut bugs and all that sort of stuff. The next thing I would say, a lot of females in general are iron deficient. I'm included in that. So a good iron tablet can be really helpful there as well. That would kind of be the only ones I truly recommend. And then if you've got more gut specific issues, I can't give you any recommendations on a specific supplement to take, because what I'm on will not be what you need to be on, and what you need to be on will not need to be what I need to be on, or the next person needs to be on, and it needs to be specific to you and what your body is actually going through. Do supplements actually help for bloating, or is it really individually tailored? Yes, it is really individually tailored. Some supplements are absolutely useless and will not do a single thing. However, others may actually really support you, and the supplements I was on really supported me, because when I would run out, I would have flare-ups. So it really, really helped me. But again, you can't have one without the other. The supplements wouldn't do jack shit if I didn't also change a lot of the things when it came to my lifestyle as well. Struggle to take supplements, for example, protein, creatine, pre-workout, etc. My gut hates them. This can also be really common. So it can be the quality of the supplements you are taking. Have they got a lot of artificial sweeteners? So I'm really specific when I'm taking any type of supplement. If I have a negative reaction, I won't take it. So yeah, it can be some of the ingredients that are in there. It can be some of the artificial sweeteners. It can just be the fact that it might be like too harsh on your gut and it may not be able to digest it properly. So you could experiment with other ones, better quality ones. I know some protein, I've tried some proteins in the past that have a really, I don't have a good reaction to. Creatine in general, if you're just taking normal creatine monohydrate, which is the only one you need to take, you shouldn't actually be having a negative experience to that. Some people can be sensitive to creatine though. So again, it's something you would just have to listen to. Maybe you're unfortunately one of those people that just don't respond that great to creatine. But we shouldn't struggle to take creatine. It shouldn't really have any type of issue. When it comes to pre-workout as well, that is something that, yes, I have absolutely experienced and had to completely cut out. And it can just be the ingredients. It's just got a lot of artificial stuff in it that can be really hard on the gut. So I would just say cut out anything that doesn't make you feel good. You could experiment with others, but your gut may just be in a position where it's just causing more inflammation and more discomfort by you trying to take them. So yeah, you may need to just strip that back. And it's also a sign that there is something going in your gut, because normal people with a normal gut should feel fine off it. Now we're going to move into training / inflammation. How did I adjust my training to help? So with the state my gut was in and how high my inflammation was, I'm talking like chronically high, guys. It was really bad. My training was just adding more stress to my body. So when we think of training, we're adding stress into it. A normal healthy person will, like, that initial stress actually helps reduce stress and it helps reduce inflammation. So I've said this in my last video, please, the fact that I had to strip back my training does not mean that that is the approach that everyone needs to take. Weight training in general is one of the best things we can do for our health, okay? So I need to make that so clear. The state I was in, the stress my body was under, it was adding to it. So ideally, I honestly could have completely stopped doing my weight training. However, weight training is just, it's my safe place. I love it. I love lifting weights. It's also my job, and it's just been a huge part of my recovery journey from my eating disorder in general. So that just, it was not something I wanted to go down. And I didn't also from a mental point, I didn't want to completely get rid of it in case I started to get negative relationships towards exercise and start to go down more of like a skinny girl route. I'm really mindful of where my brain could go, and I never want to get it to a place that I've worked so hard to really embody strength and empowerment and the confidence that weights and muscles have given me. And I really don't want to go down a different path where it could just tick the wrong wire in my brain and it could lead in a different direction. So I wanted to keep weight training from that perspective. And so what I did instead was I dropped down to 4 days per week, going from 5, and I just did about 50% weight, and that probably lasted a decent 6 months. Yes, I did lose a little bit of muscle in that time. Nothing too hectic though, guys. But also that was because I probably wasn't eating enough protein in that time as well. So I could have monitored my nutrition a bit better to really intentional with my protein intake to really limit the amount of muscle loss I could have had. So yeah, I did lose some muscle in that time. It took quite a while for me to actually lose muscle though, so that was really good. Like, don't feel like you're just going to lose all your progress. And then also remember, muscle memory is a real thing. So even if you do lose some muscle, you will gain that back quicker when you get back into it. So at the end of the day, the way I had to look at it was, I train to be healthy. At the moment, my training is making me less healthy. So the best thing to do for my health was strip that back. So I had to kind of just switch my focus there. I trained just to get some movement in, to kind of, keep the movement in there. I did 50% weight, stripped back a day, and then I incorporated 3 yoga sessions per week and felt great of doing that. Really slow, like much slower paced movement, and then also incorporated 3 saunas, and then I do a daily walk every day. So probably hit about 10 to 12,000 steps per day as well. And that was what my training looked like. How does training impact gut health / inflammation? I think I just touched on it. So for a normal healthy person, it's incredibly good. You increase strength temporarily. However, it really helps decrease strength long term, decrease stress and inflammation long term. And your body, it actually really helps with your circulation, your digestion, and every single process in your body. However, if you're in a state like I was, it can also just be adding too much stress onto the body. Also, for a lot of females, I think it's becoming a lot more people are becoming a lot more aware as to how damaging HIIT training can be for a lot of people. So I think maybe back 5-10 years ago, HIIT training was like the only way females knew how to train. However, females in general, we already hold a lot more stress than a male from a hormonal perspective and a lifestyle perspective. We just naturally hold a lot more stress than males. So that HIIT training can sometimes tip us over the edge and just cause a breeding ground for inflammation. So that would be that's how training can impact your inflammation and stuff there. Do's/don'ts with training for inflammation. Do listen to your body and what it's telling you. So yeah, you could feel fantastic and that's amazing, okay? However, if you feel like you're feeling really fatigued, really sluggish, you're holding on to a lot of water retention, you feel like you're doing everything right, you're just not getting any results, that could be a clear sign that maybe you're not recovering enough. So a lot of people, if you train more than females, you should not be training more than 5 days per week, okay? I'm gonna say this point blank. We should not be doing any type of intense training more than 5 days per week. Rest days are equally, if not more important than those training days. You're not going to get the results that you're training so hard for if you're not recovering. I cannot stress this enough. My first transformation I spoke about in my journey, the part 1 of this video, I stripped back training days. I stopped doing high intensity. I just did 5 weight training sessions per week, training 45 minutes to 60 minutes max, going from 2-hour sessions 6-7 days per week, and my results skyrocketed. So your rest days are so important. So what I would say, number 1, take your rest days. 2 to 3 rest days per week, absolute non-negotiable. Secondly, make sure you have some slower paced movement in there as well. So make sure you dedicate time to some type of stretching, yoga, something to really balance out the high stress of training and what that does on your body. Like, you need to have, yes, you go hard, but you also need to go soft as well. You really need to have that balance. We are almost there, guys. Oh, this video has gone for so long. I'm so sorry, but I'm really glad I'm able to give so much more context for you guys. And I really, really, really hope that this is helping you guys in some way. This is just kind of general gut health cues. Do I allow myself to eat sweet treats / cheat meals? So yes, babe, yes, I do. I have chocolate probably every single day, dark chocolate. It doesn't flare up my gut at all. Other chocolates sometimes do, like if I was to eat a Kit Kat or something like that, like yes. However, dark chocolate seems fine. I love my dark chocolate, but I don't overdo it. However, and I've done that for years and years and years and years. However, in the more chronic states of my gut health stuff, I don't eat anything that flares me up. So if I can eat a sweet treat and, you know, bits of something that, like, I also love lollies, but lollies flare my gut up. So I think that's another thing. Pay attention to what flares you up, guys, because again, it's you might make so much progress in your recovery journey, and then you start to eat foods that flare you up again, and it could just be kind of destroying all the good that you did. So yeah, I really try to avoid lollies now, even though I love them. And again, I'm such a huge advocate for balance. Sometimes if you're in a really chronic state from your gut health and your inflammation, then you will need to limit foods that are going to cause a really negative reaction. But yeah, I love going out and eating food, eating burgers, all those types of things. I just do limit it because I don't want to cause a flare. And if something does cause a flare and I'm aware it causes a flare, I won't eat it. However, in moderation, I seem to be doing okay. Before I had this recent flare, I was probably still eating out something, like whether it was a burger or something along those lines. If not like once a week, once a fortnight, probably once a week to once a fortnight, I'd eat something out and I was absolutely fine. So once your body gets into a state where it's just in a better position, you'll be able to have more balance, but you may need to go through a phase of being a bit more rigid. Is it true food rots in your stomach if you eat too close to bedtime? Not necessarily bedtime. The only reason we don't want to eat too close to bedtime is because it can really impact your sleep quality. So when we eat, we should have a good 2 to 3 hours before bed. We should eat a good 2 to 3 hours before bed, because when we eat too close to bedtime, it can impact our sleep and we can have a disturbed sleep, and then that can cause digestive issues leading in through the night where you don't have as good sleep quality, but then also feel a bit icky and gross the next day. In terms of rotting in the stomach, that can come from just not giving your body enough time in between meals to actually digest the food properly and just like operate more smoothly. If you're constantly kind of just giving it little pebbles, it's just like constantly going to be trying to work and not really getting any breaks. So that's when food can kind of get stuck and rot in a way. But yeah, not in regards to bedtime. Did I ever suffer irregular / missing periods? This is such a telltale sign that something is extremely wrong with your body, guys. This is a big reason I don't love having contraception. I've never been on the contraception personally. I don't love it for people, for females, because our period is such a telltale sign when our body's trying to tell us something is seriously not right. And obviously, if we are stopping that cycle from happening, we're stopping a really big communicator between our body and ourselves. So I did obviously lose my period when I went through anorexia. However, throughout this whole gut journey, no, I didn't. However, I do have endometriosis, so I had really, really painful periods. Which is also a bit of an indicator that something isn't right in the body. But yeah, I don't want to tell people to get off the contraception as such, but I would just really look into whether or not that is the right decision for you, because it's not good for our body at all. Should we eat before coffee? Yes, we should, because so I've seen some things where people try to say, don't drink coffee if you want to, with your gut health. Coffee isn't the devil, guys. It's genuinely not. Like, I'm saying this as well as just a coffee lover, but my naturopath, I obviously spoke about it in depth with my naturopath, and she said, look, if you can eat before coffee, fantastic, because coffee is going to be a bit of an acidic in our gut, and it can cause just a bit of digestive discomfort. And if you're already really, really inflamed in the gut, and then you're fasting all night, it's not getting in any nutrients, and the first thing you're giving your body first thing in the morning is going to be coffee, it's gonna cause a bit of a more of a breeding ground for inflammation. However, if you kind of line your stomach with a bit of food before that, then it's gonna lessen the blow a lot more. So yes, we should be eating before coffee. Again, if you're just a healthy individual, you should be completely fine. However, if you're someone who you have a coffee and you feel like really uneasy in the gut, just try and eat something before you go. I was having like a handful of nuts, or you know, you might be able to have like, you know, might be able to make like pre-cooked eggy muffins or something like that and just have one before you leave. I found it really hard to like eat a decent meal before I went, because I'd go for a walk literally first thing in the morning at like 5 a.m. So I didn't want to have a full meal, but I found just having something little was enough to kind of just give my gut a bit of lining, and then I didn't have stomach discomfort. But I've had coffee literally throughout this entire journey, so I will not be cutting that out, and you don't need to cut it out, but you may need to make a few adjustments around it. Yeah, so that is the questions, guys. I really hope that this was able to provide some helpful information to you guys. And obviously, like, yes, my first bit of advice is get a naturopath, start working with them one-on-one, find out exactly what you personally need. However, there is also a lot you can actually do to support your gut, support your health, support inflammation, support bloating from just lifestyle that can make a humongous, significant difference. And I truly believe if you guys feel like something is wrong, something is wrong. Trust yourself. You know your body better than anyone else. Be patient with yourself. Your healing journey is not going to be linear. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. You're going to be good for a month or two, and then you're going to have a flare. But we want to be focusing on that progress, and just, you know, keep being consistent with the same things that are helping you feel better. Be consistent with them. Don't be like me, where I started to feel good, I started to slip back, and then I had a big flare. It's a really good reminder to me to be like, we need to be consistent. This is going to be a long journey, but it's so worth it. The life it gives you back is crazy. And even feeling like this last week when I've had my big flare and feeling how much that has affected me, I'm like, wow, I can believe just I was living like this, and I felt like this every single day for years and years on end. And I know how hard it is. I know how frustrating it is, but I know you guys can get better as well. Just don't give up on yourself. Make sure you guys keep searching for answers. And if you get a naturopath and they're not getting you the results that you want, keep searching, guys. Okay, you deserve to be happy, healthy, and, you know, thriving. You deserve that. And from like just a nutrition perspective as well, truly prioritize, you know, nourishing your body, fueling your body, health over calories and macros, and, you know, weight loss. Like really focus on thriving from the inside out, and that's going to help your body thrive, because a lot of the things we do with our environment and our lifestyles nowadays, especially in the health industry, is not healthy for our gut and can cause so many more issues. So even though something is low calorie, does not mean it's healthy. But anyways, if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for being here. I hope that this was helpful, and I hope you get answers, and I hope you start to feel better so soon. Please make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow me on all my platforms, ask me any questions that you guys have. But thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and I will see you guys in my next one.